38.25 grams of placer gold from somewhere in Ohio. Shout out to an Indiana Creek Boys crew member. We're gonna melt that gold. We are gonna add some sterling silver to it to dilute it to 6 carat and quart it and get it in some nitric. Here we go. I'm gonna be melting this in 2 little phases so I don't overfill this melting dish. I got half the gold in here, half the silver in here. We're gonna melt it up and quart the gold. I've got a graphite stir rod to help stir up the goodies, and we'll get her melted. All right, we got the first little batch quarted. Looks great. Could have cornflaked that a little bit better, but it'll be okay. And look at the amount of crud that was on that gold. I was like trying to get it to melt, and then it was starting to just blow off, and I realized that some of this gold has some black crud and iron staining all over it. I've seen stuff like this before in the past, and that's what that is. So we'll have a little bit of losses with that. That stuff's mostly carbon and not a huge amount of weight. But we need to quart the rest of the gold. And my phone overheated, so I'm gonna switch to the GoPro and do that. We got some distilled water in there. We got our quarted gold. Got all the little black crud in there as well. This is some used dilute nitric acid. We're gonna add that along with some fresh acid and get nitric acid boil number 1 going on next. Here we go. There's a little bit of copper and silver in here. Adding this used dilute nitric acid. I'll top it off with a little bit of fresh nitric, and we'll get this thing cooking. There it goes. Nitric acid boil number 1. Here we go. just the third nitric boil, and we have no fumes and very little color got drawn out into this solution. So we're pretty close to getting ready to go to Aqua Regia. I've got a couple little errands to run. The GoPro's charging up, so I'm gonna take care of all that. And once I get that done, we'll get into dissolving this gold here. Looking good. There's our excess nitric cooking off. This is what we're after right there. Looking great. As you can see, that black powder's still in there. Some iron and stuff like that. We'll get that out when we filter it out. All right, catch up with you in a minute. Gonna go ahead and transfer this gold into this 1,000 milliliter beaker and dissolve it with hydrochloric acid and nitric acid. It's yellow because it's old and a little bit dirty. That's quite all right. Tad little spritz of sulfuric acid here going in. We'll be putting a little bit of nitric acid in here to get this going. Get the heat cranking, and it should dissolve pretty quickly. So, get my mask on, we'll be ready to go. Adding nitric acid, starting Aqua Regia. Here we go. There's our gold solution. I'm gonna go ahead and filter it off. And we'll drop it and re-refine it. There's all the junk in there. Those little yellow pieces are tiny pieces of gold coated in silver chloride. And I don't know what that gunk is, but the black stuff, but I was seeing that in the melt dish at the bottom. I'm pretty sure it's like sand and dirt, but we will pull all that out and mess with it at another time. there's our first filtering, and there's definitely some cloudiness to that, so we'll refilter that again and then drop it out, redissolve it, same process, hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, and drop it out one more time after that. So we need to drop it out the first time, and we'll be using stump out stannous chloride, or excuse me, stump out sodium metabisulfate and stannous chloride to make sure we get it all out. That's what you're gonna see next. This is the second filtering using the same filter. You can see how much more clear that liquid is and all the gunk we're getting out. After this filter is done, we will drop it out with SMB, redissolve the gold, and do the same process again. What this will take? There's one. Two. Three? That might be close to enough. Let's try another one here. Four. Oops, I got the GoPro all wet. Test that with some stannous chloride. Looks to be good to me, but the only surefire way to tell is to test it. Looks good. 4 spoons. We'll let this settle out. Pour off the chemicals. Look at that. You can see some metallic gold there at the top. Wash it a few times and redissolve it. We're washing the gold here in some hydrochloric acid, doing a little boil, rinsing the chemicals off. We'll do this a couple times, pour it off, and redissolve it a second time. Trying to get anything else out of there. So we'll do this a couple times, pop in some nitric acid, redissolve the gold, and drop it again. Gold drop number 2. Here we go. This will be the final one. Be enough from what I just saw. Maybe. Feel the gold raining down at the bottom. Still got a little bit of gold in there. Looks like a little tiny bit. That's definitely all of it right there. Let that settle out, and we'll catch up with you in a minute. Look at all that. Look at all that gold powder there at the bottom. Ooh. Right there. Oh, there it goes. Oh yeah. Gold's fully settled out. I'm gonna rinse and wash it, dry it, and melt it. Looking beautiful. Went ahead and incinerated that filter paper gunk, and it looks just like, this isn't all that silver. I used a silver melt dish that I've been pouring silver into, but all that gunk didn't melt. I don't know what that stuff is. Sand. I don't know. I'll show you the original melt dish. This is the original melt dish, and there's a fair bit of this black stuff all in there. And we're all done. Only thing left to do is melt it. Alright, let's go ahead and get the weight on these guys. 10.7. They're shooting for somewhere around like 28 grams for 18 karat. Got the kids screaming. That was 10.7. This is 14.9, almost a half ounce. 25.6. 27.265. Still have a little bit of that crud. I don't know what that stuff was. I'll save it for another time. But 27.265. Pretty dang close to 18 karat. And those are some nice buttons. I'm very happy with those things. Heavy pans.